Hey, I think it's working. I think it's working. Okay, it worked. It worked. In terms of volume. Okay, it worked. I just turned off my fans. I always forget to turn off my fans. I don't even
Hello.
know if you. Hi, Constantine. I fixed a bug that you didn't even know. You didn't even know it existed, but there was a
Which
bug.
bug?
Uh, um, OBS wouldn't connect to YouTube, and I was kind of panicking. I was just clicking lots of buttons, and then it started working. It was great. Okay. Um, how are you doing, Constantine?
I'm doing okay. There are some disturbing video that was released today that,
Yeah,
really made me feel bad, unfortunately.
yeah. Uh, I have personal reasons I don't want to like talk about that. It's like uh I think I think I told you why. But anyways, there's a guy that I talked to not very often, but sometimes as like a source, and I heard that he was killed, and there was a video of it. So I've just been avoiding videos of like a lot. I just don't want to see it, to be honest. Uh,
Yeah. No, I did not. I watched it blurred. I don't wanna see it. I can understand what is happening there without actually watching it. So it's pretty clear to me. So, are we live?
yes, we're live.
Oh, okay. Got it. I gotta be back in a second. Let me open my
Okay.
garage door so my kids can come back.
Uh, where did that video happen? I don't know. I haven't actually seen the video. I've seen like the first like 3 seconds of the video like 100 times, and every time it starts, I just like close it because I don't want to see it. But yeah, there was big news out of Russia today. I'm gonna wait for Constantine to come back, but a lot of like really big news. uh,
Yeah, I'm back.
so I think I'm gonna start by talking about this new Russian law, because this law is it's a big deal. I think it's going to change kind of the way Russians view the war, and I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse or what's going to happen of it. But
Okay.
have you
So
read?
what's the law? Just no, I did not read the law. I just read a couple of excerpts from the news, but once again, I don't. It's hard to comment when I did not read the full law.
Okay. Um, so there's a few important points about this law, and first there's like a little bit of history to it. Um, Russia has been preparing for this law since the beginning of October. They put together a commission of people whose job was to kind of secretly, but not that secretly, because kind of everybody knew about it, but secretly to get all of the information about basically all the Russian men. Is basically their identification numbers, where they work, where they live, where they stay, what bank accounts they have, if they have a passport, where they've traveled, like basically every information about every single man in Russia. And they gathered it into a database. They said it would take about 3 to 5 months to do it. They said that they would be completed by the end of April, I believe, and it is already finished. Actually, no, they said it would be done by April 1st. And anyway, that database was completed, and it has all of this information. Now, Russia has done the next step of basically passing a law. Oh, and here's another piece of information that's important. I forgot. A while ago, I don't know when, but it was a while ago. Russia created a kind of centralized web service for doing all sorts of government functions. And these government functions include, like, if you get like a fine, like a government fine, or if you get like a traffic ticket, or I think you pay your taxes on it. It's like all sorts of like government related things. It's like a central like application where you have like a user account, and like everybody in Russia has one, and you can log in and you can do all of your government things with like a click of the button. Like you can pay a fine or pay your traffic tickets or your taxes or like everything that the app does. You just log in and click a button. So and it does it. And like you attach like your bank information, all like it's like an app. It's an app that the government made, and everybody was kind of like in favor of this app at the time because it made all sorts of government related things just easier and faster. But anyways, they Russia has now integrated that computer system, that application, with this database, and they're using it to conscript people. And they wrote a law that says that if you get a if they send your conscription paper or your conscription notice to this government application, you count as having received and signed for it automatically. So they assume that if it's sent to this application, you have seen it, and there is no way around that. So that's one thing. The other thing is that once you get this notice, you have like a certain period of time. I don't know how long the time is, but you have a period of time to respond to it, and the only response is to show up in person at your recruitment center or whatever it's called. So you have to show up like within 24 hours or something like that. And if you don't show up, then a number of things happen to you. First,
Then they show up. No, I'm joking.
your passport is like nulled, so you can't leave the country. Second, your driver's license is nulled, so you can't drive a car anymore. Third, you can no longer use banking services. You can no longer buy or sell real estate, and you cannot take out a loan. So those are the things that happen if you don't respond immediately. And then they can also, I believe, they can search for you and snatch you and force you to show up. And then there's another part of the law that says that the judicial system of Russia has no oversight whatsoever over any aspect of conscription. So you cannot appeal your conscription. If you appeal and you win in court, it doesn't matter. The court doesn't count. So there's no appeals. So if you are conscripted, you are conscripted. And the second they press a button, you are conscripted, basically. So, for example, just think of a hypothetical situation where the government knows that you personally are trying to flee the country, and you're at the border getting ready to cross the border. Well, guess what they can do? They can click a button, and as soon as they click that button, you're conscripted and you can't leave the border anymore. That's just an example of a power they have, and you can't appeal it. Before, there were all sorts of appeals you could have. Like, for example, say you are crippled for some reason. Like, say your leg fell off because you were run over by a combine harvester or something. Before, if you were drafted, you could appeal and say, my leg fell off. But now they just say, we don't care, you're drafted. So that's the law.
So they're basically using technology against their own citizens, like used to enhance control over the citizens. I think in Ukraine we have what's called DIA. DIA is like an application in which you interact with government. It includes like your all your documents, and at some point there was a discussion of Putin's conscription system into it as well, so you could receive the conscription notice in your application, but it was severely negatively negatively perceived by the society, and no one passed that, and they did not do this. But once again, Ukraine is a civil society, and that's why we can reject things like that. And in Russia, you have to accept whatever.
Yeah, it's this law is it's controversial. I don't think Russians are gonna like it. I saw one comment today that basically said uh, it said if you are a Russian who was looking forward to dying for your country, this is probably the best thing that could have happened to you. And for everyone else, if you wanted to leave the country, it's probably too late. Um, there is some word that you might have about a week to leave Russia before they really close it down. So now everybody is trying to leave Russia. Like tomorrow, the price of airplane tickets has gone through the roof. And like I said before, if they know that you're leaving the country, they can click a button and you can't leave anymore. Like they just deny your passport. So yeah, and there's no way of denying um, whether you've received your papers, because before you had to actually physically get the paper in your hands, but now they just click a button and that counts. So anyways, there's some breaking news tonight. Ochakiv has been under kind of heavy shelling. That's kind of the breaking news tonight. It just kind of came out like a minute ago, but um, anyways, is there how you doing, Constantine?
I'm doing, other than that, doing great. We're got some good news from friends. They struck a couple of Russian 120 millimeter mortars in the south. Actually, they are in near Zaporizhia right now. So I have a bit of elevated mood today because, well, not considering the video that we saw, but still, it was good news that our drones work. They discover positions of the occupiers, and they can make sure that they don't threaten anymore our civilians and service members. So I'm
Yeah,
pretty happy about this.
I got a bunch of I don't. This is from the video that Tanya posted earlier today. But these little dots are all of the Ukrainian hits from that video.
Can you enable the stream
Yeah, I can.
in Discord so I can see it?
Yeah, I can probably show that video from Tanya too, right? But yeah, these hits were all in Novoselivka, which were.
Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, I know this one.
But yeah, it's just it's
It's the
just
presidential
interesting.
brigade. They stayed there very for quite some time, but then they pulled out, as I understand, I think around a month ago or so.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's I know a lot of people were saying that Ukraine had moved into Novoselivka, But I never saw real evidence of that. So I never kind of I marked my map as kind of this far away because I think this was this kind of yellow gray area was the furthest Ukraine had advanced, and it wasn't, it was temporary. They kind of like moved back, but these mortar and artillery hits kind of show that analysis was correct. But yeah, it's interesting. Um, I don't know if I can show that video. I'm kind of scared to show
Oh,
videos.
you think that they're gonna block us? Yeah.
I'm a little kind of afraid of show videos. But anyways, I kind of want to start by talking about Zaporizhia. Um, in the recent past, there have been a number of videos from uh, south of Orikhiv and north of Rabitny that show the extent of the Ukrainian advance, at least as of a few days ago, because all these videos are kind of old. So I don't know how old they are. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week. I don't know. But anyways, uh, those videos show that this kind of triangle here is a gray area where Russians move up and then they try to like hold this it's kind of like tree line, but then they get shelled and run away. So this kind of triangle right here is a gray area, and similarly, like this kind of rectangle here is a gray area. So the full extent of the Ukrainian advance south is somewhere in this kind of region. And what Ukraine controlled before this advance is kind of unknown to me because I thought Ukraine held Novodanilivka the whole time, but they said. I mean, there's been statements that Ukraine actually only held the northern part, and the whole southern part was a gray area. So you could say, but with if that's true, then they've moved from like this northern part down to like down here, which is I don't know how far that is, like 2 miles. So so yeah, that this is kind of the Ukrainian advance. It's not super exciting, but this is kind of how Ukrainian advances go. They don't typically shatter through their lines and move 100 kilometers in an afternoon. It's more typically they move across about this far in a month. That's more typical. So this is yeah, that's kind of the situation there. Um, uh, also,
Well, it's something.
yeah, it's not nothing. This is kind of like a shaping. So if they get the Russians to a certain point, they may launch a larger attack. And speaking of which, Russians have been bombing all of these kind of warehouse type buildings. Um, they bombed this one in particular, and also the smaller one. They bombed basically all of these bigger buildings in the south of Orikhiv, and they're bombing them with aerial bombs. So these are those like glide bombs dropped by the Su-34s. I think they bombed one today as well, although I don't know where it is, but I'm guessing it's one of these. They've also bombed some of these more northern ones. So it basically just every large building in the city that they're just bombing it. And the reason is because they think, I don't know if it's true, they think Ukraine is moving large amounts of heavy equipment into the city for a future offensive. So they they in their heads, like I know this one in particular, they thought that Ukraine put like 20 or so pieces of heavy equipment in this building, so they bombed it. Um, I don't know if Ukraine had stuff there, but that's what they claim. And the same is more or less true of Hulepole. So they're bombing like all of these larger buildings with these glide bombs. So today, Russia bombed both of these cities. Oh, that attack.
Do you have any videos or results of those bombs? I'm trying to understand. These are huge bombs. It's 500 kilogram bombs. The 500 kilogram explosive bomb. So it must be devastating damage if it
Oh
hits.
yeah, it's really bad damage. I can if you talk for a minute, I can try to find some of these pictures because there were a
Yep,
lot of
sure.
pictures today.
I don't know what to talk about, but you're the boss. But I will try. Uh,
It,
yeah, you've been running this so nice, and for me to talk is sometimes like I am used to just chilling in the back and enjoying you leading the way.
but about that article about the Ukrainian attack on Enerhodar, that article is completely fabricated nonsense. It's totally bullshit. They just made up something just because I don't know they want to like sell a story or something. Completely fake. Even the Russians say it's fake.
Why do you think it's like what is your basis for saying that?
It didn't happen. You know what the story was? That Ukraine attacked with like
Yeah, attacked on Hadar. Yeah, I know.
they attacked with like 30 boats full of infantry. Like it didn't happen. What actually happened is Ukraine was sending in. Here's an image of one of those bombs, by the way. Uh, anyway, Ukraine sent in like small groups of people, like 8 people at a time, and there were some firefights, but it was not like sending in like hundreds of people in like a huge attack. That did not happen. Yeah, that's the result of one of the bombs, and here's some like photographs of it. Um, yeah, this is but yeah, the damage is catastrophic. Um, it's and they're dropping these bombs like all the time. Um, yeah.
So what do you think about how much impacts do those bombs have in general on the battlefield? Not because this is something new, right, for Russia.
Um, I mean, when they hit, they're bad. Like I don't know, it's from what I hear, Russians aren't that great at targeting. Like they're not good at picking the right target. And also, we don't know how accurate these bombs are. Uh, I don't think they're really guided. I think they just kind of like fly how they fly. Like we don't know how accurate they are. We don't know if they're targeting the right buildings. But when they hit something, they hit something. I know around Avdiivka, they did a lot of damage. When I mean they're hitting fortified positions, and there's like videos of like a whole bunch of Ukrainians dying to a single bomb. So when they hit, they're bad. They I know that those bombs forced Ukraine to abandon a lot of positions around Avdiivka. I think they played a really big part in the capture of Krasno Horivka because the Ukrainian like line that was to the east of Krasno Horivka just got bombed. They just kept bombing it over and over and over again, and they just couldn't hold it anymore and had to pull out. and they've tried to do the same north of Vodiana, and it was successful in that it pushed Ukraine north, but Russia could never attack behind them, and now Ukraine is pushing south again. So these bombs they do play a big part, and also they're playing a really big role in Bakhmut because they're dropping these bombs all over Bakhmut all the time, and they're just wiping out like entire buildings, you know. So
Yeah, I've seen pictures, recent pictures on the Bakhmut. There is a section of the like what you call, I think in America you call it projects, like standard panel buildings, 9 to 13 story ones, and they were just destroyed completely. I think it was Bakhmut, and I was thinking they were standing there at least like 3 days ago, so they must have used something really, really uh, powerful, like those bombs probably on them.
yeah, and not all like you said, these bombs are like 500 kilograms. Some of them are like 1,500. So like they're big bombs.
As I understand, they have not yet produced the kit to transform them into the glide bombs. Those 1,500, they only have plans to do so. That's where they're at. So
Well,
for now, at least as of I think 2 days ago, that's when I read.
they have
They only had.
they have purpose built 1,500 kilogram bombs. So
No, no, no. What I'm saying, they did not upgrade them to have the guidance and to glide properly far enough. They had those bombs, yeah, but the why they're using this, where they suddenly became an issue, is that because they have upgraded their 500s to be more effective, to be more precise, and to glide further. It's basically like JRAM, as I understand. JRAM is a kit, right, that is attached
yes,
to.
that's a
Uh,
pin kit.
yeah, so what they did is this is the same. They have upgraded their bombs to be
And,
more precise, and that's.
and yeah, someone Lazarus asked me about that video of the drone over Donetsk. Yes, I've seen that video, and last week I think I showed the video in the stream of him there Ukraine operating drones over the city, and there was a really funny reaction to that video of the Russians were pointing out that all of those videos were not live feeds, that they were like recorded video. And I think it was like Gray Zone or somebody. They said, like, how stupid do you have to be? So, okay, they're not flying drones live over Donetsk. They just flew it earlier this afternoon, you idiot. It's really funny. It's like the grass, just grasping at straws. It's pretty funny. But yeah, there's someone else asked like the shelling in this area of Orkiv and Holepule. They're getting the reports are between 100 and 140 artillery strikes per day. So I don't know how many shells is in a strike, like more than one, I imagine. So they're getting hit quite a bit. And you have to realize that these are two cities that have been shelled like continuously for over a year. So it's there's like I honestly don't know how there's any buildings left to bomb. But uh,
It's goddamn savages. I don't. There are no words to explain. Like it's completely. They're completely wiping out the cities from the face of the earth. It's literally. Uh, I don't know, barbarians. I don't know how to comment on this.
yeah,
It
there's
just makes my blood boil.
there were some news of Ukrainian strikes today. Um, so exactly right here, this is a geolocated strike. Ukraine took out SPGs and all of their ammo in this little building right here. They actually took out all three of these buildings. I think they said there was four SPGs in that location. But they took out the guns and all the ammo, which is kind of fun. Um, Here in Vodiana, next to Enerhodar, they took out two uh, batteries, I guess. I don't know. They took out two groups of Russian artillery. I think they were grads. Um, in Novo-Ukrainka, they took out two Russian uh, headquarters or whatever they were. Anyway, two buildings full of Russians. In Ploy, they took out, I think, this school. I'm not sure. They said they took out the kindergarten, and this is the only kindergarten I could find. So I think it was this one, but they took out this building. In particular, they blew up. Ukraine blew up the gymnasium, where they claim they killed like a dozen people and wounded like a few dozen more. Um, and Then up here in Luhansk Oblast, Ukraine took out a electronic warfare uh, vehicle. Right there. That's another geolocated strike. So yeah, that's kind of the news, the strike news from today. There are a few other strikes in the recent past, and that there are random explosions in that city. I don't know what that was about. But there was a book destroyed um, near Avdiivka, and yeah, so that's kind of that. That's kind of the strike news. I can't remember the last day we did strike news, but it's kind of it makes me feel better talking about the strike news. So, uh, but anyway, uh, do you know anything about Kuzimivka or Novoselivka?
Well, I posted a video today from the Kuzimivka, around Kuzimivka. Kuzimivka, you say, even I start saying like this, Kuzimivka. Kuzimivka, yes. No, there is not much movement there. It's back and forth. Russians have made a couple of attempts to storm Kuzimivka. They at some of the positions they were even somewhat successful. They took over the position, but then had to leave, of course, and position was taken back. It was in the tree line. And that's basically it. Not active changes, just skirmishes and Russian losses. I posted a video from thermal drone that we have provided today, where the Russians were suffered some losses. I think about 5 to 7 people, but that's basically it.
Yeah, this town south. I can never say this name, but this was really heavily shelled by Ukraine, I think, yesterday, and that kind of piqued my interest. I think it was it was yesterday. These Ukraine kind of shelled over here and here and here. So was it Dralda? I can't say that. It's hard for me. uh, but yeah, it's kind of interesting that this town would be hit so hard by Ukrainian artillery. Um, Near closer to Chervono-Popivka, Ukraine has made a somewhat significant advance. Um, First, I can't remember what day it was. The 7th. It was the 7th. The 7th, Ukraine was spotted. Well, it's not really spotted. There's a video of Ukraine assaulting this forest on the 7th, and separately, a video of Russia trying to push through the forest and getting hit by Ukrainian artillery and running away. I think they lost like 2 or 3 BMPs or something. So on the 7th, there was footage of Ukraine attacking this forest, like this part of the forest right here. And then I think the 8th or the 9th or whatever day it was, there's another video of, or maybe it was yesterday actually. Anyway, there's another video of Ukraine getting shelled right here, like right there. so so Ukraine in the past few days, like or at least these videos were posted in the past few days. I don't know when it actually happened, but recently apparently Ukraine has moved from kind of this line here to kind of maybe even up to there. It seems that they have taken control of at least these two forests, maybe that one too. So that's kind of interesting. And now the Ukrainian General Staff is saying that Russia is attacking from Chervono Popivka, and they're really trying to push Ukraine out of these kind of forests here. So that's kind of interesting, interesting development. Uh, yeah. Oh, and speaking of your glide bombs, there's a glide bomb hit this bridge um, in Nevska the other day, I think, or today. I can't remember. Yeah, it was yesterday. Anyway, so anyway, this is all kind of the periphery news. I'm trying to do all of the not Bakhmut news first. There is more not Bakhmut news. Yesterday, Ukraine claimed that they had taken ground in Belo Horivka. I don't know where, but they claim to have taken ground in Belo Horivka. And then there was a video of Ukrainians in Belo Horivka, and they seemed pretty jolly. They were kind of just standing there telling jokes and stuff. But I don't know where this ground would be taken. I don't even know if it's true. But then there was another report that Russia is no longer capable of attacking Bilohorivka from the north, and they're now attacking it from the south. I don't know what that means necessarily. I assume it means that they're attacking from Zolotarivka, pushing north kind of along these roads or whatever. I'm not really sure. It's possible that they're attacking kind of from the southeast instead. I don't know. But anyway, so that they can no longer attack from the north, so they're attacking from the south. So maybe that means Ukraine took some sort of important position in the north. I don't know. So that's kind of interesting. And then around Smyrna, there were some claims that Ukraine had recaptured this kind of area of Smyrna. I didn't know they ever lost it. I mean, at worst, it was a gray area, but I had never heard of them losing that. But anyway, now they're saying they recaptured it maybe, and Russia is still attacking from the south. And furthermore, this kind of area that's we haven't really heard much news from lately. That's between Vasukivka, Fedorivka, and Razdolivka. This Russian area between these three towns. And if you remember, these three towns are heavily fortified, and one of the reasons they're so heavily fortified is because south of Vasukivka there's a hill, and north of it there's a hill, and east of Fedorivka there's a hill, and east of Rostolivka there's a hill. So there is a hill. There's two hills covering each of these towns. So anywhere Russia attacks, they're being attacked by the Ukrainian defenders can attack the Russian attack, the Russian assault from at least two angles. So that makes this position relatively strong, and Russia isn't even attempting to attack it anymore. So Russia or Wagner, they have withdrawn all of their forces from here, from this whole region, and they've put all of them into Bakhmut. Um, and in turn, Russia, I believe they sent their VDV into these positions. So all of these positions are now held by Russian forces and no longer Wagner. There is a rumor. There's a rumor that the Russians attacked out of Saco and Seti. They attacked out of here in some direction and were defeated, and Ukraine counterattacked. But I think that is a rumor until I see actual evidence of it. Um, and yeah, and this whole kind of region north of Bakhmut, I believe here around Orkovo-Vasilivka, I believe Wagner has already been withdrawn from here. I believe Wagner has been withdrawn from Zaliznianska, um, and they may have been withdrawn from around Belo Horivka and Horivka as well. So basically, Wagner is just pulling every force they have from around Bakhmut and putting them into Bakhmut. And all of these other positions are being taken up by Russian forces. And as the Russians take over from Wagner, we typically see the assaults cease. Russians are nowhere near as aggressive, typically, as Wagner. So yeah, what do you think about them withdrawing all of these terrorist people and throwing them straight into Bakhmut?
I don't know. It is, maybe it seems Russia has how long have they been taking Bakhmut? It's literally 8 months now. They're and even now, when they manage to take the flanks, they still cannot take it completely. So my take is that their losses are just too high, and they need the regular Russian military refuses to put up with such losses, and it's a bad publicity. Not publicity. It's bad for the morale and generally for sending back letters to their mothers and wives. So they want to use more expendable force that they don't care about. Maybe that, I'm not sure, but that's because I hear this from you for the first time right now.
So someone mentioned Saco and Seti. I don't know if people know who these two guys are, but they were pretty famous. They were Italian Americans. They were Italy had a big kind of anarchist movement, and some of the anarchists were kind of communist adjacent. But anyways, these two guys were in the United States, and they were found guilty for a crime that they pretty obviously did not commit, and they were executed after a long appeals process where the judges basically said, "We agree that you're innocent, but we're going to kill you anyway." And when they were executed, they became an international thing, like super huge. Even before they were executed, it was like a really big international story. There was a huge controversy all over the world. Like there were marches, like in like London and Paris and whatever, saying like let them go freed, or you're basically executing them for being Italian, which is wrong. And anyway, when they were executed, they became even more famous, and that's who those two guys are. And that's why there's a random tiny farm town in Ukraine named after two Italian guys in America. But Anyways, so we get to Bakhmut, I guess. So this train station is at best contested, or at least whatever. Anyway, this area is at best contested, if not lost. Right here. So the my sources they messaged me a few hours ago. They said that this street, what's it called, Kowalska Street or whatever. Um, this street is kind of the
I gotta step away for a moment, sir.
okay. So this street is, I don't know if you call it the front line, but it's extremely heavy fighting along this street, or at least near it, near enough to the street that you can refer to the area as it being the street. So and you see the street kind of goes from here down to basically the football field. The football field is lost, um, and
I'm
yeah.
back.
So this whole I'll just these whole big areas were recently lost. I forgot to update this. I forgot to update this because Russia lost this area. I'll update it right now. Here, boom. Uh, this little section they
That's a really small detail. Like
yeah, but
you
it's
have some good sources if they know.
yeah
It's so nice.
Ukraine counterattacked and they retook this apartment complex. I think like last night, or this morning or whatever. But they retook the apartment complex. They pushed Russia back across the street. Um, it was actually pretty big news. Like a lot of people were talking about that today. And yeah, I update because I have two maps. I have one map where I do all my updates on, and then I have this map that's kind of for displaying to people. And I just forgot to update this display map. But anyways, the yeah the just generally speaking, this northern part of Bakhmut, the northern part is getting smaller and smaller, but this northern part is relatively stable. The southern part is very stable. Like it's not really a big threat, and this kind of part in the middle is really bad, like horrifically awful. Like those are the northern part is like not good, the southern part is good, and or at least meh, and then the middle part is awful, like horrible. Like this is where there's constant artillery, constant bombs, really high casualty rates. It's just awful. Um, and yeah, the there there are conflicting reports about how much strength Wagner has left to fight with. The more optimistic, kind of Zelensky crowd is saying that Wagner is weakening. I don't really trust those people. The I think a more realistic crowd of people are saying Ukraine is just heavily outnumbered in Bakhmut, and they have no real ability to counter that, how heavily outnumbered they are. Like there's no they have no technological, force multiplier type thing to overcome their just how outnumbered they are. So So we're kind of seeing from what I see, early my analysis is that we're watching Ukraine slowly withdraw from Bakhmut, moving um, maybe half a block a day, something like that. Um, Maybe in a week or two, um, unless something changes. Um, I don't know if Ukraine will be in Bakhmut in like 2 weeks or something. At least at this current rate of loss, it's possible that you know once Russia takes this kind of section here and this little group, once they take that and they're forced to fight across these train tracks, maybe there is a point where the central part can stabilize the way the southern part has. And if that happens, then maybe this can last longer. Because the north and the south are doing okay. It's just kind of this middle part that's collapsing constantly. Maybe they will collapse to a point where they'll be okay. But here's the issue. Here's the issue. Russian Air Force is the issue. So what's happening is that as Ukraine pull, they're in a position like, for example, this church. This church was like a major defensive position. They're in a position, they get overwhelmed, and they withdraw to the next defensive point, wherever that was. So they, I don't know, like here or whatever. So as they withdraw, once they get to that new defensive point, Russia just drops bombs on them. Or sometimes, Russia knows where Ukraine will fall back, and they will bomb those fallback positions before they even attack the forward position, and then they're just dropping these like giant aerial bombs on it. So this kind of the issue right now is that Ukraine has no counter to the Russian Air Force. They don't, because the Air Force is now able to drop bombs from far enough away that they're not in direct threat of Ukrainian anti-aircraft. So since Ukraine doesn't have long range, fighter based missiles, they can't threaten these planes or take them out or do anything. So Russia is, dropping bombs from like, I don't know, like over here, and they're gliding into Bakhmut. And
So what's the distance for those glide bombs? What do you think it
they,
is?
they say it's like 40 kilometers. It's not,
Gotcha.
it's not that Ukraine is out of anti-aircraft. It's just that these targets are,
No, they're deep inside. It's
yeah,
it's
they're,
like you have to get your air defenses really close, and
yeah,
those are very valuable assets. You don't want them to be close, that close. So it's good to have those F-16s that can fire like 160-kilometer range missiles, that air-to-air missiles that will engage Russians planes as they come into the range of throwing the bomb.
Russia, I mean, Ukraine can't shoot them down because the only realistic way to shoot down these planes is with planes. And Ukraine doesn't have the planes to do it. They have like MiG 29s and,
It's not only the planes, the missiles. We
yeah,
need the
well,
right missiles on those
yeah,
planes.
like a MiG 29 can't shoot the missile. So you need you need like an F-16 or,
Su-27, Su-27 can, but once again, it's just we don't have those missiles. That's the problem. And those missiles are not compatible with the jets, with the Soviet jets. So we need something like F-16s.
but anyways, so that is kind of the issue in Bakhmut, is that their defensive positions are just getting bombed, and yeah, it's kind of a nightmare. It's really bad. And anyway, we had a question earlier this afternoon, way before the stream started. That it was kind of a two-part question. The first part was about when is Ukraine going to launch their spring offensive? And a few weeks ago, I stated in a stream that I don't think Ukraine will have a spring offensive. I think that they'll attack in June at the earliest, if not July or August. I also said at the same time back then that you'll know that the offensive is coming because Ukraine will start getting F-16s. And now we're seeing we're seeing two things coming out of Ukraine in the past like 24 hours or so. First is Ukraine is actively trying to recruit F-16 pilots from around the world into the Ukrainian Air Force. They claim and I don't know if this is propaganda. I kind of think it's not. I kind of think it's not propaganda. But anyways,
I think it is. I think it is, man. No, don't. No, don't. It's not gonna happen. Ukraine will not recruit foreign fighters. Even we even have a law that prohibits foreigners who signed the contract with Ukrainian military to be an officer or in the commanding positions. Pilots are according to Ukrainian military doctrine. It's the officer position, and that's definitely not true. I don't believe, and there is no point in it. I mean, it's not.
Why would you not want them?
There is no problem with our pilots learning how to fly F-16. There is not a problem with that. The problem with F-16 is integration into integration and service and in the military and
Well,
the correct use of it. It's not the pilots who don't have the skills to pilot.
We're making an assumption right now that they're trying to recruit pilots. Maybe they're not trying to recruit pilots. Maybe they're trying to recruit maintenance. Because the maintenance is the hardest part.
I lost you for a second. Maintenance, yeah, that's definitely maybe true. That's they definitely may be looking for former or current maintenance crews that will able to help them, because that's something that Ukraine lacks, and that's probably the bigger problem than the pilot.
So, anyways, I don't. I mean, there's propaganda value to it, but I don't really think it's propaganda that they're trying to recruit people regarding the F-16s, because I think it's just a fact. I think it's a fact that if Ukraine could recruit enough people to do this job, they would get F-16s faster. Like if you, because the number one thing holding back Ukraine getting an F-16 is the maintenance crew, because the plane requires an enormous amount of maintenance, way more maintenance than any Soviet jet. And the maintenance is very difficult and specialized, and it's not easy to train those people. It takes a lot of experience. Even the United States Air Force has trouble training and retaining them. I think recruiting those sorts of people would be incredibly valuable for Ukraine. And then also the second thing is Denmark coming out and saying all that they've said about giving Ukraine F-16s, that they need support in a different way before they can offer the planes. And I am pretty sure that the support they're talking about is maintenance. So I just think these things are connected. I think they're connected. I think the planes are going to be an important part of Ukraine's future success on the battlefield, and they need them quickly. And the quickest way to get them is to recruit people who already know how to do the work, because it's a lot faster than training people. Um, regarding planes from other countries that aren't F-16s, all of those planes have the same problem as the F-16 in that they require all the maintenance crews. Training the pilots, not necessarily a big deal, but it's the training the maintenance, the ground crew, the people who maintain the engines, and all that sort of stuff. So I think any plane that you talk about is going to have that same problem.
Well, yeah, planes are really problematic because you don't. It's an expensive equipment. If you get that, uh, if we get it and it turns out that it's broken, we cannot fly it. After 4 or 5 sorties, it's going to be a disaster. So that's absolutely important.
And you can't just send the planes to Poland. It's a lot harder than that because unless you're literally going to be flying out of Poland for every single sortie, which is not legal. That would basically make Poland a party in the war. And
Well, it's not only that. It's not only that, right? You have to do the maintenance. Unless you have to do like routine maintenance each flight. After each flight, you gotta do the maintenance. 10 hours in there, you gotta do the maintenance. And it happens all the time. You cannot each 10 hours. You cannot put it on the truck. Take off its wheels and whatever, and take it on a truck and take it to the Poland. You cannot do that because it would be completely. Uh, it's just not logistically. It's not logistically possible to make this sustainable because you will have planes standing, not flying more than it's not going to be efficient.
yeah, so there. All right, moving on from planes. Or getting back to Russian planes. I was joking with CJ. I think I told you the same sort of joke. Where I wanted to make. I was thinking like, what would happen if you had a drone that was basically like an anti-aircraft mine, but a drone. Like, what if you flew a drone like and just like plopped it next to an airfield, but like far enough away where it's not obvious, but like close enough that you could that it could like hop in the air and shoot at the plane with a missile, like a Stinger or something. Like I just think it would be funny to have an anti-aircraft mine. I don't know if those exist, but I just find the concept funny. Um, but yeah, I don't know what Ukraine can do about these long range bombs unless they have fighters. It's really the only option. But yeah, that's kind of like all the news recently. I don't know. Can you think of anything else? Russia had an advance in Marinka. They captured this like plant thing. I don't even know what it is. It's just like a big pile of concrete. They captured this big pile of concrete. A balloon of stingers would be great. Honestly, just like a balloon. If you had a balloon, I don't remember the ceiling of the S-300. But I think if you were at like 60,000 feet or something, I think you're above the S-300. I think you just like flew a balloon at like 60,000 feet that just full it, put a whole bunch of cluster munitions in it and dropped it on an airfield. That would be kind of funny. I don't know. Yeah, the F-16 is it's a very it's a very fancy jet. It needs lots of special attention. You need to be nice to it. You need to have a nice clean runway. I don't think you can take off of random streets like like the MiGs can. The MiGs can just like take off on a a random side street in like the middle of nowhere. I don't think F-16s can do that.
I think you can on F-16. They can do that. Theoretically, not of course, not something to be done consistently. I think F-15s are much more problematic with the bad runways, but I'm not sure. I'm not a plane expert or anything. Just adding my thoughts here.
I just know that the F-16 has their air intake like on the bottom of the plane, and it seems pretty close to the ground. Why not F-18s? I think the reason, I mean, like F-18 would be fine, I guess. I think the reason that they focused on an F-16 is first they just needed a plane to focus on because they just want to have a unified message. They don't want to split their attention in lots of different areas. And second, I think there's just more F-16s, and they're currently in production. So I think those are the reasons they wanted an F-16. It's not necessarily because the F-16 is so special. It's just that I think Ukraine identified it as the most likely plane that they would actually receive. So they have focused it as they focused all their attention on it. So they don't want people debating which is the best plane. They just want people repeating the same line over and over again. Um, I think that's why they have focused on F-16. And there's no way Ukraine is getting an F-35. There's just no way. They're way too expensive, and there's not enough of them. And they can't produce enough of them. There's like maybe in like 15 years they could get one. uh, but anyways, that's kind of all the news I got. And F-16s are really expensive. Like I just want to point that out. When I think it was like Japan or whatever country, or maybe South Korea or whatever, they bought like 66 F-16s, and it cost like $66 billion to buy them. They cost like $1 billion each. Like I know if you like go to like Google and you Google how expensive they are, it'll tell you like a certain price. But in reality, they cost about $1 billion each. Because you need all the spare parts, you need all the spare engines, you need all the weapons, you need all the computer systems, all the maintenance kits. You need to train your people to do the maintenance, which is really expensive and time consuming. And so everything combined, they cost about $1 billion each. Um, so yeah, that's kind of all the news I got. What do you think, Constantine?
I think give us F-16s. We need it's if we get them, it's gonna be a quick game. It's really gonna be a game changer if we get like 50 of those. But 50 is a huge number.
Yeah.
But even 10, even something like one. I don't know how much planes are in one squadron.
I always forget. I know
Yeah,
that
we're not Air Force experts,
no,
definitely.
I know that the Ukrainian Air Force is designed to have around 270 fighter jets um, between,
Regional jets, not fighter jets. This includes bombers.
well, maybe I think it was fighter. Anyway, I don't know. It was like 270 jets is the what they're designed to have. It's like on paper, if every squadron was at full strength, it's like 278 or something like that. But yeah, that's what's that. Um, the big takeaways are that Bakhmut is very hot. everywhere else is kind of cooling down. Ukraine is advancing in certain directions, particularly around Chervono-Popivka and south of Orkiv, south of Novodanilivka. So Ukraine is advancing in certain places. It's not super exciting or sexy, but they are advancing. And really, Russia's entire success at this point is built around Bakhmut. Oh, I forgot. There was a funny analysis. uh, I want to open up Google Map because I saved the thing last time. Um, if you remember, a while ago, I can't remember when, I showed a video and all of these uh, GPS coordinates for where this video occurred. Um, the Russians have decided that it was a good idea to publish coordinates for one of their attacks that occurred, I don't know, recently. Um, and I just want to show you these coordinates compared to these the new attack compared to this old attack. I need to find it real fast. Um, Give me a second. Where are you? Yeah, but it's really funny seeing these coordinates. Uh, yeah, tornadoes are a good plane. They're kind of, you know.
It's like with the planes, the most important part that is it that it can shoot the missiles. We're not gonna there are not going to be dogfights. Ukraine will not send F-16 into the dogfights and into the Russian territory. Russia will not send its planes into Ukrainian air defense controlled territory as well. That's why the characteristics like and the speed of the plane itself is not that relevant because we're not. I mean, if Ukraine would get 300 of F-16s, it would be super important because then we would be able to use them into the dogfights inside Russian controlled territory. But right now it's not the case. So the most important thing is that if this plane can shoot modern air-to-air missile that can strike 200 to 150 kilometers deep from where the plane is, and that with a range of 150 kilometers. That's the key. That's where the capability of the jets is the most important factor right now.
Okay, so here is where the Russian video starts. So it starts here, and then just to show you last time, the old video started there, and there's a whole bunch of action right here. So this is where it starts. Then they move. They move to there. It's cool. Then they here. I'll just keep posting some coordinates to show the little movements. And then they move there. Okay. Then they then there. Then so then they move back because they took some casualties and they had to fall back. Then they moved up there, which is exciting. They got beaten by artillery. They tried falling back, and they ended up around here. So This is the exciting new Russian video that they were really bragging about today. That this was like a a huge success. That they managed to go from here to there and then get beaten back by artillery. As opposed to the video from several weeks ago where they moved up to here and got beat back by artillery. So this is their great success. They posted this as a see, we advanced. There's video proof of our advance. We got all the way here and then ran away because we all died. So this is the Russians are just they're so excited about these very successful attacks. There was a report that came out, I believe, yesterday, that was basically a critique of the Russian offensive around Avdiivka, where it was a Russian military analyst. He basically said that every Russian that is celebrating successes around Avdiivka are fools because the Russian catastrophic losses around Avdiivka have crippled multiple brigades. Actually, I think one of them is a division. Anyway, they're all crippled. They've lost basically all of their armor, and they have run so low on infantry they can barely even do assaults anymore. And the people clapping on these sorts of suicide attacks are all idiots. That was more or less his message. Um, so, and I pretty much agree. um, there are positions around Avdiivka where you say that Russians have attack and take a territory, um, and we no one really talks about how big these attacks are, and I don't know for certain how big they are, but I do know how. I have exact numbers for previous attacks in these general areas, and I'm just assuming that these attacks are on that same scale, and I do know that some of the positions around Avdiivka, Russia has attacked with fewer than 80 men and taken towns with fewer than 80 men. Uh, so when you see like attacks around Krasno Horivka towards Stepove or towards Novokalovane or Severna or whatever, these assaults are probably on that scale of fewer than 80 men. It's a company attack, if not smaller, maybe sometimes two platoons, or maybe sometimes even one platoon. These are not large attacks. So when you hear of these assaults and even captures, do not think that they're attacking with like 1,000 or 2,000 or something. It's probably more like 80, maybe 300 total. You know, so that's kind of the scale of these assaults. And yeah, that's kind of that's what I had to say about Divka. And also, if it is true that Russia is critically low on infantry, and I honestly think it is true, it really opens up the possibility of counterattacks all around Avdiivka. Whether the counterattack is worth it, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Like, would it be worth it to retake Pisky? Could you cross into, some of these pre-February 24th areas? Like, could you attack Spartak or any, uh, any of these cities? Could you attack Donetsk? Would that even make sense? Probably not. But yeah, that's if they're running so critically low in infantry that they can barely attack, it also probably means they can barely defend. Um, so a determined Ukrainian attack could probably do a lot more damage than you might think. And the same is generally true around Sperna, where several of the better Russian mill bloggers and analysts are very concerned about Sperna, where they believe that Ukraine is building up an attack force around Siversk, where they could potentially attack east from Sperna, and Verkno Kamyanka would be the obvious target because it is on top of a critically important hill. It's an incredibly important location. So if Ukraine could manage to capture that, it could really open up a lot of possibilities. One possibility would be like going south towards Popasna. Another one would be going north towards Lysychansk and Rubizhna. There would be just lots of opportunities if Ukraine could take that. And it could really threaten Bakhmut as well if Ukraine could collapse kind of this northern flank, especially now that we see lesser troops are being asked to guard these positions, and probably in lesser numbers as well. So it's lesser troops in lesser numbers. It could be a potential for a future attack. What does critically low mean in terms of infantry? Let's say you're meant to have 1,000 infantry and you have 150, and you're guarding what 1,000 was supposed to guard. That's what critically low means.
So I wanted to ask you, like the situation is in Avdiivka. I was always saying that it's actually much. I mean, the positions are more defendable in Avdiivka, I think, generally, but it has been under assault for 9 years basically, and right now I think it may be even in a more complex situation than the Bakhmut itself.
Yeah,
It just
it's not
it's
great.
more prepared to hold it's just more prepared people there. Well, not people, the positions there are just much more prepared, and some of the natural features allow for better defenses.
Yes,
But as you
definitely.
can see, it's been they're slowly pushing and improve. Russians are Muscovites are increasing their tactical situation. Not increasing, I mean, uh, improving their tactical positions a bit day
The
by day. Of
a-
course, yeah, go ahead.
an important aspect of Avdiivka, and I think this goes for most of the line in Ukraine, but Ukraine, they tend to use the fewest defenders they feel they can get away with. The defense of Avdiivka is kind of sparse. There's really not that many men there. And if Ukraine wanted to, they could dramatically increase the number of men there. They just obviously don't feel that's necessary because they feel they can defend with this number. I think there's 3 brigades there right now, defending this whole Avdiivka area, not just the city, but like all of this, like from like
It's Marines.
Belska. I think it's two.
I know the Marines are holding there.
There's 2 brigades of Marines and I think 1 territorial defense. I think no. It's one brigade of Marines, 1 mechanized infantry. So it's the 56th and the 53rd, and I can't remember the other, is the 110th or whatever the territorial defense
It's
people.
36. Marines are
30, yeah,
36.
36 and
30,
53. Those are the two. 'Cause I know the 36th and the 53rd are there. Those are like the 2 primary defenders. I think the 36th are they're kind of like in charge, and the 53rd are just kind of like helping, and then like the territorial defense people are kind of like helping. But the 36, the Marines are like running the show, I think.
Yep, this is one of the units. There is 501 Marine Battalion that we're helping. They have been really successful, and those Marines they do the brigade itself. It has really good training, and the people there are just amazing, and they do know what they're doing. Because Ukraine, you must understand, there are a lot of new brigades that have different readiness capabilities and different combat capabilities, and this is one of the most combat effective brigades, the 36th one.
Yeah, they're really good. They're actually like impressive. They're incredibly impressive. What they've managed to do with such few men is it's really impressive. But if Ukraine wanted to, and they like obviously they have the capability of doing this, but if they sent like another like three brigades here, it could totally change the whole situation. So they just kind of don't feel the need to, but they could at some point if they wanted to. But yeah, the 36th they have really been doing a lot. Is that there's another Marine brigade? I can't remember. Is that the 35th? Are they? Is that a Marine brigade? Because there, I know it's at one point there were two brigades of Marines in Avdiivka, but I think one of those brigades left to do something, and then they were replaced by the 53rd. Anyways, it doesn't matter too much, but I do know that that second Marine Brigade, I think it's the 35th or something, 25th. I don't know. I don't really know the numbers, but Rybar posted that they had arrived in Avdiivka like before they even got there, and one of them messaged me like, "How did they know we are even coming? Like, I didn't even know I was coming here." And I was like, "I don't know." Anyways, I do think Siversk. Keep your eye on Siversk. I think Siversk is a place where Ukraine could attack from themselves, and it's also a place where Russia could decide to throw all their resources. So I either
But,
way,
but what is the potential? Like Siversk right now, it's I don't think it's gonna. If the attack is to happen, it's not gonna probably happen by by the brigades who are defending, right? It's gonna be probably the brigades from the reserve that would come in.
yeah,
So, like, what is the potential there? Imagine, I can imagine the local attack, for example, take the oil refinery in the Verkhnakamenka, or get closer to even take Lysychansk. I don't know, but that's where they go further,
well, I think
because
there's
crossing the river is like there is a river right over there.
yes, I think there's there's really two main attack vectors. One attack vector would be south towards Popasna, where you would kind of push like this way, um, and basically try to get Herska and Zolote and Popasna, like this whole kind of attack vector here. Another attack vector would be pushing north into Privilia and then crossing the river around Privilia, because this was actually a a pretty good place to cross the river. There's a lot of crossing points, like natural crossing points. Um, anyway, so crossing the river here and moving into kind of Rybizhna, and you could do a sort of pincer move on Kremena and try to break the Kremena kind of defensive position and get behind the Svatova defensive line and kind of break the Russians here. I honestly think that if this sort of attack were successful, it would be catastrophic to Russia. I think they would basically lose this entire Luhansk area, this whole northern part down to the river. But I think either of those two attack vectors, I think, would be a pretty big deal. And in the process, either attack, you could retake Lysychansk as well. And if you did break this northern flank, you could put a lot of pressure on Bakhmut. It would be bad to be in Bakhmut at this point for Russians. But I don't know if this is a where Ukraine would launch their their offensive. I just think it is a place that would make sense to me because there are multiple ways to succeed. There's not just one path forward. They could multiple ways that they could attack, and it would put a lot of pressure on Russia in a lot of different places where they would have to respond, and Ukraine would have not only the initiative, but they would have much shorter supply lines that be on the inside of the circle instead of the outside of the circle, which gives them the initiative. And so anyway, I just think this is a possible avenue of attack. And also, if you did this, you could simultaneously push kind of north up here and try to just spread the Russian forces over there, make them spread their forces basically. So make them have to use their reserves in multiple places. I think this is a plausible future offensive. And then there's also offensives in the south you could think of, and also you could imagine some sort of offensive near Vuhledar, and yeah. And I guess.
Okay. So, question for you. A bit changing the topic. What do you think is the most capable Ukrainian brigade?
I don't know. I don't know. There are a few brigades that I'm impressed by. The 36th is one of them because I don't know if you would say they're the best
36 is
brigade.
not new. They're not new.
Oh, you want the best new brigade?
No. You said there are some new ones that you're impressed by. Then you said.
Oh no, I
36,
said a few that I'm impressed by.
Okay, good.
The 36 impress me because they do so much with so little. They're not a big brigade, are they? They're like Marines tend to be smaller, right? So
I don't know that they're, according to the Wikipedia article, they have only two infantry battalion and one tank battalion. So that's that's not a lot. That's absolutely not a lot.
yeah,
And I know that they constantly rotate them. I work with one of the battalions, and they've been rotated constantly. Maybe it's one of their strategies how they work to make sure that their troops are fresh. But yeah, it was not a large brigade. But once again, almost every brigade, when the war started, there was an issue where we had so many battalions, separate battalions, and that were just running loose. They were poorly integrated in general command, and our general staff decided, okay, let's integrate those separate battalions into the brigades that are actually capable. For example, this happened with the 93rd Brigade, this happened with 92nd Brigade, this happened with the 72nd Brigade, happened with the 36th Brigade, as far as I know as well, but I don't know the details on this one specifically. It just, they basically tried to make sure that like this battalion knows what to do. It's doing. It has a command overhead on top of it. So probably 36 received a couple of local battalions as well under their command. They're still considered to be a separate battalions, but they're under the command of the 36.
Yeah, and I know that the 36, they kind of the way they operate is smart. They seem to they take all of the battalions in the area and pool their resources and kind of work together with all of them. So they're not so separate from each other. It's not like each battalion is standing by itself. They're all really working together. And I believe that the head of the 36th is in charge of all of that. So they just kind of they pool their mortars and they pool their drones and all that, and it seems to multiply the effectiveness of everybody there, which is good. So I'm impressed by the 36th. I don't know if they're the best brigade, but they're doing pretty good. I don't know. I don't know who's the best brigade. Yeah. So yeah. So people are dooming the Russian Air Force. Just remember that every time the Russians have come up with a new weapon, it did damage for a while, and then Ukraine countered it, and the weapon kind of faded away. Just keep that in mind. Anyways, that's about all I have to say. So thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for coming, and share the video with your
Thank you for
friends.
coming. Sorry?
Share the video with your friends. Tell them there's a video. They can watch it. They can play it on like 1.5 speed and get through it faster.
Which video, sir?
This one. Share this video.
Which one?
The one you're on right now. This one. The one that you're talking in. Anyway. Thank you.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I was thinking you're telling me to share something. Yeah, I'll definitely share this video. Thank you for coming, and subscribe and click the like button, like they say.
Yeah. All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
And yes, the Russian offensive began. In fact, it failed, and it's over basically. Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.